Hello there my friends, welcome to my another video. Today we are doing something again very different. As you may remember, I showed you that I won this 1/72 scale Z-37A Čmelák from Eduard. This is a profipack and today we are going to build it. So let's just look inside and start assembling. Now this is an amazing model, the parts are looking really good, everything fits together perfectly, and since it's a profipack you also get metal, painted metal cockpit parts, which are really nice as well. Now I assembled the model together using Revel Contacta glue. I cut the parts off from their sprues with side cutters and then I cleaned them with a hobby knife. Now everything went together really well, and this is one thing that's something I've never done and something why I've been skeptical about planes. I have to paint the cockpit now before putting even the metal parts on, not even before putting the cockpit into the plane, but I also have to paint it before putting on the metal parts. So I start by painting the cockpit in light gray. Now these cockpits were often very different from plane to plane, since these were farm planes and they would just get modified all the time, but what I've noticed on most pictures is that the cockpit was always light gray. However, for the seat it doesn't matter all that much how you paint it. Of course you could go with some historically accurate paint schemes, but I've seen pictures of these planes having car seats inside of them because the farmers just wanted to be more comfortable or something, so there is not really any right or wrong with this. Now I start putting on the painted plastic metal parts. I glue those using ordinary super glue, and I just put them where they need to be. This part, for example, needs to be bent, so what I did was I first glued the part that's higher, and then I put the glue where other part of the part should sit, and I just bent it into shape using the glued part as a holder, and it basically shaped perfectly against the plastic. After gluing the cockpit into one side of the plane, I used some brown wash just to give some more depth to the details and also weather the cockpit a little bit, since these would get quite dirty. And then I also add some silver chips for good measure. These details aren't all that visible at the end because it's all hidden in the cockpit, and the cockpit is tiny since this is a small scale, but I'm really happy with how this turned out. So now it's time to assemble the rest of the plane. I put the two halves of the fuselage together. This fit very nicely, but there was still a tiny bit of gap, so I filled that with super glue, and then I sanded it and sanded it and sanded it and sanded it and sanded it until it looked good, and then I just kept adding more parts that according to the instructions. The model fit together really nicely. Almost makes me wanna keep buying only Eduard kits for planes and nothing else, and looking at their profipacks, it might be the best call for someone that's not all that good at building planes yet. Now after these last parts were glued, it was time to start painting the model. Now one thing that's really nice is that Eduard actually supplies you with masking tape if you buy the profipack, so I added that to the glass and I started mixing up some yellow color for the the paint scheme. And this was a disaster because yellow is just the worst color to paint, and since I am painting with a paintbrush I need to dilute it heavily so it doesn't clog up the details, which makes it even harder to paint with. So this was such an annoying task to do, and I had to layer so many layers upon each other. At the end what I decided to do was paint everything separately, like I first painted one wing, then I painted the other wing, then I painted the fuselage, just to avoid the paint like collecting at the bottom of the part when I try to move around other parts, because yeah, diluted paint does that, and it was just horrible. I never want to paint yellow again, and I don't think the paint job came out the best, but I'm actually decently proud of it. I mean, it is yellow, so now I have to just take off the masking tapes. This is very satisfying. And then I started doing some other things. For example, I mixed a lighter and darker shade and I sponged it around the entire vehicle. First of all, to kind of make it more weathered, even though this isn't particularly chipping, just what I wanted to do. And second of all, because the paint job wasn't excellent and I kind of just wanted to cover it, and then I started painting all of the details, the black parts, the wheels, the propeller. This wasn't really anything else than black color because it's quite a simple plane. However, I painted the, what would you call it, the lime spreader or something like that. I painted that with gunmetal grey. Then I started adding the decals. These are very nice decals that adhere to the surface very well. I used cotton swab to, make them copy the surface as well. These aren't particularly historically accurate, these are Slovak markings, but I used the little animated character from a children's movie as well, even though it's not supposed to be on this variant, but I really liked it. Then I just sealed everything in with Viejo matte varnish. This will help the model stay matte and will stop the decals from silvering. At least I hope. And then using my Viejo dark grey model wash, I started putting wash on the vehicle. Now I put a very heavy wash on the wings, and I know I shouldn't have, and I know this hurts watching this, I know it hurts me, but I'm an armor modeler, and when I saw all of those grooves on the wing, I wasn't sure if I should put wash there or not, and I guess it's a learning experience, but I managed to remove most of the wash away. It still did copy the surface very nicely, which made it nicely detailed and pretty, and also made the, the plane more weathered and the badly applied yellow less visible. Well, it wasn't that bad, but you get my point. However, I still dry brushed the plane with some plain old yellow just to take the effect back a little bit. And I was actually really happy with the result. So I started adding some chipping. According to references, these planes chip to lighter yellow and also to silver. I added them later. And I just chipped around the areas that would get most chipped, according to references. Then using diluted black acrylic color I added some soot from the exhaust. Here you can see me adding the silver chips. Then using deck 10 I added some dust on the bottom of the plane, because these planes would get really dusty, mainly since they were on airfields usually. Speckling never hurt anyone. And then doing the same thing with white, I added some residue after the line, because that's probably what would happen. Anyway, this is it for today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. It is something different. I've never done planes, well, these big planes. I did do those two tiny ones a few weeks ago, and I'm kind of happy with those, but this is way better, and I'm quite proud of the result. So let me know what you think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe if you would like to, and you can also join my Patreon for some STLs and support for me. Here is the presentation of the model.